Great, thank you again, Subhash. So the plan now is to, last night we talked about retrograde intervention. Today we'll talk more about the overall field, where we stand, and what we can do. And a few days ago, we had a birthday party for my son, and this is how the kids were looking at their instructor doing rock climbing. And I think this is very similar to how many people look at CTOs today. There's mixed feelings, there's excitement, there's some fear, there's some awe, there's some concern. And that's a genuine reaction that applies to CTO PCI as well. And the same thing you saw from Dr. Mixon, there's a gap. Some kids make it to the top, some kids don't. And the question is, how high is that gap and how can we bridge it? This is the Progress CTO registry that has been going on for a few years. Aris Karatasakis is running it here, Bhavan Arangan, 6 abstracts coming at ACC. And as I showed last night, success is pretty good in experienced centers, 91% with 1.7% complication rates. And Open CTO that Dr. Mixon just mentioned did show similar results with 89% success and acceptable complication rates, significant improvement in angina as well as dyspnea and depression. However, from NCDR, as you just saw, success is much less, 59% versus 96% for non-CTO interventions, and complications rates are higher. So the gap definitely exceeds, but everyone can make it with the right coaching and the right approach. Is it about the gear? Is it having the right climbing belts or the right gear that makes you a good CTO operator? Well, we do have some significant improvements of CTO gear. We do have new guide wires, such as the Gaia wires, which are very torqueable and allow you to go through areas you couldn't do before. This is an example of a retrograde going through a lima, going down an epicardial, and going back up. That is a case that was failed twice, actually another VA, and it was sent to us. And then the only wire that can make it, after we did all this trip, the only wire that could go all the way and come back was the Gaia. And doing that wire, we're allowed to externalize. RG3 is also an improvement for retrograde wire externalization. And by using this equipment, we're able to open this complex CTO within acceptable radiation and fluoroscopy time. There is also other equipment, such as the Crossboss and the Stingray for dissection reentry. We had a very nice case yesterday of using these devices to recanalize a complex CTO. There is a trial that is going on right now called Crossboss First that is trying to understand better which is the role of Crossboss in relationship to wire escalation. And we also have other devices that give you more support and centering to push through and re-occlude, open the devices. However, it's not all about gear, as you may have imagined. And there are many ways to improve, but it's all summarized very nicely by Richard St. John in his 8 Secrets to Success, 3.5-minute TED Talk. It all starts with passion. CTO interventions, like everything in life, you cannot force someone to do it. You have to love it. If you don't love it, it's not going to happen. Then you have to work hard. The good news are, you used to say that Malcolm Gladwell, that you need 10,000 hours to become good. The good news I have this year is actually it's not 10,000, it's only 20 hours. So very good news, just saved you 9,980 hours. And the difference is that this means to become a world-class operator, to learn something, to become a world leader, you do need to put your hours in. But to become decent at it and do a decent job, you don't need that much. And that's very critical. As I mentioned yesterday, 2 things, dual injection, using a microcatheter over the wire system, that can really increase your success quite a bit. There are a lot of webcasts that can help you train. There is also very important to take your time to plan. Same for the kids, you have to explain to them what is coming up. Same for CTO intervention, you have to sit down with your team, your fellows and technicians, and go over the case, understand what the plan is before you actually execute the plan. Persistence is important. If you're going to give up after the first approach fails, then it's not going to be good. You have to be able to be flexible and switch strategy, which I think is one of the most important contributions of the hybrid approach, which is to change. If things don't work, don't persist on that particular aspect, just try something different that can do it. You do need to get some coaching. You need to understand how to use the equipment from basic things to more important things. You do need to practice, and as you see over time, you do get less contrast, less radiation, but increasing success rates. And you do need sometimes a push. It is, CTO PCI is an area where you're going to fail. And failure, you may be a discouragement and never do it again, or you may need a little extra push, like the kids' extra push to get started, and then get back on track and keep on going. And can you please press on the video? This is why we do this. And this is, let's not forget, at the end of the day, that the reason we do CTO PCI or any other complex PCI is to serve the patients. So if you can.
For the last 3 years, before I got the surgery from you guys, okay? But I mean, I thought it was just something that it was just a part of what was happening to me, because I knew that I had heart problems, and I knew that I had bypass surgery, to know what the results from that would be. That procedure was, to me, a lifesaver. Before I had the procedure, well, I guess I was at about my 8th year of having the bypass. My 8th year, I couldn't even put out the trash. I couldn't take a real good walk without taking a glycerin pill. But like I said, after having this last procedure that you guys gave me, I could put out the trash, cut the yard, and relax. And take it easy without really worrying about anything football. And like I said, I do appreciate that procedure. That was one thing that I did in my life that I think helped me out a whole lot. And it's still helping me out.
Mr. Davis survived Vietnam, but then he was stuck with angina for a while until he's recanalized. By the way, it was done with the femoral approach, just for the record. And then, if you start, so the CTO PCI, the bottom line is...
Look at your radiation exposure.
Not as high as it would have been with radio. So if you start with a vision, and then you prepare carefully and work hard, and get a little push, you're going to succeed. And you will be rewarded. But let's not forget that success is not in one way. It's not going all the way up, learning CTOs and being done. It's a circular process. Getting good at it means that you have to continue to practice because things get harder and harder. You always have to improve. So it's a continuous process, and I will encourage you to all embark in the trip, both for CTOs or for whatever else inspires you in life. Thank you again.